Well, here we are at NREX Studios, and I'd like to introduce you to an AG440 8-track Ampex tape recorder. These came on the market in 1967 and instantly took over the recording world. According to its manual, this one was built in 1969. Ampex had made 8-tracks before, but the AG440 was the first solid-state job and the first to be really mass-produced. The basic idea is that you've got the equivalent of 8 tape recorders stacked on top of each other. If you record 8 different things, they'll stay stacked in the same synchronisation. You can record an instrument yesterday, add another one today, and tomorrow, if you turn one up or down a little bit or make some other adjustment, the other 7 needn't be affected. Now, I'd like to introduce you to Steve Newton. Yeah, so Steve, I can't remember now, but we acquired this sometime in the 1980s. Yep. From Opal Records in some kind of deal.
84 or 85, I guess.
And we had the tape recorder, but we needed $880, if I remember rightly, to buy a transformer.
The transformer, which...
Yeah. You can't just use a little wall rat with one of these.
Weighs a bloody ton. 240, we had to run it on off a 240 supply, so there's the 110 volt supply for it.
Yeah. Another thing... when the head started to wear out, I think you were saying you don't really remember this, but the playback head worked all right, but channel 8 was wearing out on the record head.
That's very close to right. It's channel 1, and you can still see it today. The top track there's a line through.
Oh yeah.
So the head's worn down to the coil effectively.
Yeah.
And track 1 doesn't work. Also, there's a bit of a gremlin with one of the cards, or a couple of the cards, and the faulty ones have ended up in channel 1 on the module, so we've effectively lost the use of track 1 altogether.
So you used to record things backwards on another tape recorder, turn the reels upside down
if you do, and run it backwards. But
fly it in and then turn it around the right way.
You would have had to have held, and I did have a piece of copper wire sticking out here at one point with a loop on it. Pull the door down here. This is the tape lifter. And the wire used to run through here, and you'd have to hold, because this is the erase head, and you'd have to hold the tape off the erase head going backwards, you see. To dub backwards onto there, you'd have to hold that lifter out, so the tape didn't erase itself after it recorded. So, although I don't remember doing it, I can certainly imagine how to do it, and certainly I can imagine having probably done it. So there you go.
Yeah, fantastic. You want to show them how to thread it up?
Yep, absolutely.
I've got a feeling that the words threaded up probably means nothing to the computer generation.
No, it probably doesn't.
It means nothing to me these days.
And of course we used to say lace it up.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Lace up the tape.
Here's a reel of tape. It was expensive too. I remember we could never really afford to record all the people we really wanted to.
It's heavy too. I reckon that's...
well, it's nearly solid iron, isn't it?
Couple of kilos there.
Yeah.
What the Ampex is good at is these motors used to rev the reels right up to a frightening speed, an absolute frightening speed with that much weight.
Roll.
It should be over here, as we always put the rolls on the take-up spool. Back through there, back through there, there, there. The end of the tape. Give it a bit of a spin, and voila, she's laced. Tighten those things up. There's the head block, and off you go. To get underneath this transport for service, then you can undo this cover plate here. And what this will reveal is yet another plate here, and underneath this plate are the adjusters for the reel tensions and things like that, and effectively you can service the machine.
That's the flywheel.
That's a harmonic. That's the impedance. That's the wound flutter impedance device. Inside this is fluid and a disc that sits in the fluid, and you can't see it on the camera, but if you feel it, it's moving around inside, and it takes out wobble off the system, and it keeps it running, keeps the flutter down.
Okay, let's have a look around the back.
Balanced line in here and balanced line out. These little relays are always a bit of a trouble, which you can just pull out here. And they're relays for switching in record circuits and bias amps and arrays heads. Sometimes they'd have to come out and have a bit of have their points cleaned and things. And sometimes we swap around, and there's actually a couple of different models here, but they're replacements. And I guess this is this was the link which you could connect to the mixing console, and in fact drive some of the relays from the mixing console. So, you know, in other words, you could just select that track to record and then operate instead of having to come back and forward to the tape recorder all the time. These are input transformers, which also come out, and they sort of look like a fuse socket sort of thing, and they're input balancing transformers, I guess they are. Just a couple of adjustments here for sync gain for the replay head. When you're doing overdubs, you use the sync head, and this is the level adjustment for that, and this is that same head's bias trap adjustment. So you can get to the back of it to do some of those adjustments.
By the early 70s, the 1-inch 8-track was superseded by the 2-inch 16-track and then the 24-track, if you could afford it, which explains why blokes like me and Steve were still using the 8-track in the 1980s. But it didn't seem like yesterday's technology to us then. To us, it was a big, expensive piece of high technology. Something we'd been dreaming about getting our hands on since before they even came on the market. Where do you shovel the coal in?
Well, you shovel the coal in the front there. Oh, she's a bit dusty.